with this. Drop in the chat one thing that you're excited about learning about real estate or mindset or wealth building, just anything, right? Anything that comes to mind, maybe a goal you've got for this year, maybe something that you've been wondering about. But let's hear from everybody while we're waiting for people to come in. There's Mary Hammersley. Oh my gosh, look at that. You're muted, Mary, but it's okay.
It's actually Henriquez.
There's also a Mary Hammersley. There's Mary H.
Mary Henriquez.
Yeah, and there's another Mary Hammersley too.
That's so funny. My goal this year is buying my first home. Sweet. I know that feeling. I actually didn't buy my first home till just a few years ago. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, while we're still letting people in, drop something in the comments, y'all. What would you like to experience this year in terms of your wealth? Would you like to see it increased? Would you like to see it double? What are some things that you've got going on that you want to master as far as all this stuff goes? And don't be afraid to dream big, right? Or don't be afraid to dream wherever you're at, because sometimes just having that next goal is really powerful.
Well, it's 6:30. You guys don't be shy. Samantha wants to buy her first home. Yepper Skepper, we're working on that. Woo! I know a lot of people are new and just kind of want information to know like what real estate's all about and what to expect if they want to do that, if they don't want to do that.
Yeah. Upgrading to more land and building accounts for retirement in 18 years. Love the long-term thinking there, Kimberly. Daniel says, learn more about increasing personal wealth this year and beyond. Definitely, we're going to focus on that. Tamara says, how to invest in real estate without using a down payment or using your own money. Ooh, Jesse's got some ninja tricks he's going to share, because he has so much expertise with all that stuff. It's kind of mind-blowing. So yeah, that's going to be really good. And just like Daniel was saying, that's something to keep in mind, that we're, one of the main focuses of tonight is real estate investing, but I'm also going to be sharing just wealth mindset, right? And you're going to learn how to apply that across the board. We're going to give you at least some basic tips for building your wealth, whether that's, doubling your income with your, work, your job, your business, your profession, right? I mean, we're not going to go way into that tonight, but you are going to learn some things that you can certainly apply to that. Building long-term wealth. Jesse is my favorite, puts up with a lot of random from when we looking at properties. Nice, Kimberly. And Mary H, by the way, nice. Okay. Good stuff, y'all. Good stuff. Man, they're still flowing in. This is great. Jesse must have really been crushing it, putting the word out, because there's a lot of people coming in.
That phone.
Why don't we do this too because there are still a few more people coming in. Just everybody drop in a hello. Give us like your best howdy shout and where are you from? Where's everybody hailing from? I mean, I know a lot of you are probably from Des Moines or from Iowa, but just give us a shout. Like, give us a hello. What are you? Where are you coming from? That sort of thing. Stella Lynn from Indianapolis. Good to see you. Central Iowa. Urbandale. Altoona. I'm assuming these are all Iowa places because I don't know.
Those are Des Moines suburbs. Yep.
Okay. Colorado. Nice. West Des Moines, Central Iowa, Urbandale, Waukee. Nice.
The Waukee, right? Excellent. A lot of people not from here don't say it right.
I mean, I try to say things like they look like they sound, but you know.
But,
Whenever you're ready, Jesse, just
yep, I'm ready. Let's go.
go for it.
So excited that all you guys are here. This is my first Zoom event. As many of you know, I like doing quarterly client events. Going to be hosting Spider-Man Across the Multiverse in June. That's the next one. So I like to do a couple fun ones like Santa Claus photos, and I like to do educational stuff too. One of the things I'm really passionate about right now is aiding other people to build wealth and their net worth. I'm working on that myself personally, and no better way to help oneself by assisting others in the process. So most of you probably know me, Keller Williams Legacy Group Realty. I've been an agent for almost 9 years here in the Des Moines area. Just got my broker associate license 2 months ago. Woot woot. So I'm excited about that. And tonight's objective is going to introduce you to my friend Damien, who I've known for almost 21 years. And then he's going to talk first and foremost about mindset, because really any endeavor in life, if you don't have the right mindset or a positive expectation, it's going to be challenging along the way. So we're going to touch on that first, and then I'll get into the tactical aspects of real estate. Specifically, I'm going to talk about why real estate is a good investment. I'm going to talk about money, like how to use other people's money, how to save your own, how to maybe you have some money you didn't know you have. We're also going to talk about time, like how much time is involved if you want to real estate invest, if you want to be more passive with it or more active. And we're also going to go over the BRRRR method. More on that later. So we also have a special guest later. My hard money lender friend, Ken Fogelsong, is going to speak for a few minutes about hard money lending. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to Damien Norman. I met Damien 21 years ago, this coming May. I love to meditate and concentrate. It's stress release because I wear my name tag upside down in real estate. Sometimes it's so crazy, I just need that help to remember who I am. So Damien was a teacher of mine years ago in that respect. I also want to give a quick shout out my former theory teacher from my Oklahoma Baptist University days, Sandra Myers, on here. Woo-woo. She taught me how to do ear training and music theory, so which is really good with listening. So and then my lovely assistant Casey Maypaka is on here. If you call my number and you don't get me, she's the one you're talking to. So she's my virtual assistant, staying a little late tonight to help me with the technology on this, which I greatly appreciate. So Damien is a mastermind at, well, he's a manifestation. And what's your exact title?
I usually just tell people I'm a mindset and manifestation coach for entrepreneurs and professionals.
Yes. So he's been doing that for a number of years. He's been teaching and training hundreds of people over the years, since you were just fresh out of high school. So Damien and I were doing some accountability sessions earlier, just some personal things in our lives and business. And I asked, we kind of had the idea to do this. And so I'm going to turn it over to Damien for a few minutes, and then we'll go from there.
Nice. Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, this is going to be so much fun because I always love to talk mindset. I love to talk manifestation. I love to talk wealth, abundance, prosperity, money. All this stuff is fun. So I'm going to kind of get you guys primed up, because the thing is, Jesse's going to give you all so many great tactics and strategies to use to get started with real estate investing. And, that in and of itself is going to be immensely powerful. But the thing is, if you don't have the mindset to use it, right, you could get all the knowledge and you could just be like, okay, this is great. And then tomorrow you end up forgetting about it. And then you say, well, I'll get to it next week and I'll get to it later. And then, you still don't. And then you wait another month or two and you still don't, then by the time you know it, it's next year, right? So much of wealth building and wealth creation is mindset. I mean, I would say truly, I believe 90 to 95% of all changes in growth, and particularly in wealth building, is mindset. And then when you have that mindset, you can find the tactics and strategies that will work for you. And so Jesse's going to be giving you so many good strategies to look at and understand, that let's get ready for him so that you're like really ready to go, right? You're really clear. So I do want to talk about 3 things that are super important, and that's and if any of you all have like pencil and paper, you may want to take some notes. I am going to have you write a few things down. Go, Kimberly. Kimberly's on it. So I'm going to talk about 3 things: fixed mindset, growth mindset, and wealth mindset. Okay. So fixed mindset is the mindset of, I can't change, right? Things are going to stay the same. I'm not able to do this. This is hard. I was born this way, or there's all these other factors. We're in a recession, blah, 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 all this kind of, for pardon my language, but bullshit, that exists, that excuses. And yes, some of those things might be true, but at the end of the day, what you really want is what's called growth mindset. And this has been studied and researched in so many different ways. There's actually a book called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. Came out, 15, 20 years ago. Great book on this very thing, the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. And they studied it in kids, they studied it in adults, they studied it all these different scenarios. And the people with the growth mindset would be excited to learn. They'd be excited if there was a challenge, right? It's like, oh, something that's hard for me to do, something that I don't know how to do, something that's like, oh man, I'm going to have to use my creativity and use my resources, maybe ask people questions, right? They would get excited about what's coming up and how to make something happen, or just sometimes how to solve a problem, or just sometimes to learn something, right? To have a new experience that they didn't have before. So we've all got fixed mindsets in certain areas. So it's okay if you are kind of like, well, yeah, I can kind of be that way. And sometimes that's fine. It's just important to recognize that if you have some fixed mindsets, you want to start to be able to pivot those and start to open your mind, open your heart, open your whole field of awareness to saying, I can learn something new. I can try some new things. I can receive some new ideas, and I can start to take some actions on those while feeling really good about it, because I know that as I focus on this and take some action, I'm going to move forward. And then the last part of that is I want to talk about is wealth mindset, which wealth mindset I feel like is a sort of an outgrowth of the growth mindset. It's a furthering of the growth mindset, because everyone has some kind of wealth mindset. And I'm sure all of you have a different type of wealth mindset, right? Whether that's maybe you've been working at a job for much of your life and you've made X amount of money for a certain amount of time. And so, you might think, okay, this is what I'm capable of earning, right? Which I will say, no matter where you're at, if you're in a job, if you own your own business, like if you're like me and you're an entrepreneur, whatever you're at, I'm going to tell you right now, I want you to start expecting more. Whatever that is. If you're an investor, if you're not an investor, I want you to start expecting you're going to be making more money this year. And that might be you get a raise, that might be you get a new job, that might be that you grow your business by 10 or 20 or 30 or 50%. I mean, really there's no limit to this, but and much of what the rest I'm going to be talking about is this growth mindset, or this wealth mindset, and applying the growth mindset to your money, your financial income, this feeling of being abundant, and this vision of where you can go. And I'll just use a couple quick examples of the fixed mindset and the growth mindset for a moment. So I've got several clients, but I'm going to talk about 2 of them for just a moment. And I love both of these guys. And one of them's name is Jim, and one of them's name is Richard. And Jim, he's a really cool guy. He's out in California. He actually makes really good money working for a fiber optics company. But he's got a lot of fixed mindset challenges that he runs into, right? It's like he wants to live by the beach, and so he does. And so he ends up paying a premium for where he lives. And so most of his money goes to his apartment every single month. Most of his monthly income just goes straight to his apartment payment, right? He's out in California, right? It's like a lot. It's a lot of money out there in a lot of places, especially on the beach. So, and there's many different areas where I will give him suggestions, and he's like, he'll eventually come around, but he's like, this came up and this thing's hard and I can't do this, and so I've really had to coax him through getting out of this very staunchly rooted fixed mindset. Then I have this other client named Richard, and I've only been working with him for a few months, and he's just been growing in leaps and bounds. And he went from, well, he's got a regular job, then he's got a side gig. His side gig, interestingly enough, is that he's a magician, right? He does magic tricks and all this stuff. He's probably the best magician in the like Kentucky area and surrounding states. But he really wanted to move to becoming a speaker, a public speaker, because he's very good at speaking. He's great in front of people. And so with just teaching him a few things, he was so willing to learn and grow. And I was like, dude, you need to raise your rates, and we need to make some changes. And he landed a talk at a local company that he's going to be doing in a couple months, where he's going to get paid $3,500 for a couple hours worth of work. And that was, 3 times more than he'd ever been paid as a magician, right? And that's not even as much as you can get paid as a speaker. I mean, you can get paid a lot more as a speaker, but that was a great starting point for him. Why? Because he had a growth mindset. He was like, I'll believe this. I'll consider this is possible, right? And so that's so much like a great example of what I'm going to be sharing with you all and how I want things to kind of unfold for you as we talk about these things. So a question I have for all of you that I want you to be thinking about is, do you believe that you can improve your flow of money? Do you believe that? Wherever you're at. Again, some of you might be already investing in different things. Some of you might be brand new to all investing or real estate investing. But do you believe that you can improve your flow of money? And if you do believe that, drop me a why in the comments. If you believe that you can improve your flow of money, drop me a why. Because it's so important to start claiming that you can do this. Yeah, I've been working with myself and my clients and students for almost 30 years now with mindset and success principles and goal setting and manifestation. And it really all starts with your awareness and your belief and your willingness to do that. So now, do you believe that you can make money with real estate investing? That's another question. And where are you at with that? Do you believe that this is something that you can actually do? Now, maybe you don't have enough information, which Jesse's going to reveal a lot more about that later. But, I would assume that you have some basic belief of that, or you wouldn't even be here. But again, it's like you have to start claiming this. You have to start saying, yeah, this is possible. So if for some reason, dollar bills, y'all, that's awesome. Thanks, Yolanda. Yeah, appreciate that. Absolutely. And that's a good example of the kind of enthusiasm you want to be building towards this, right? You want to be building a love, a joy, an expectation. One of the things I teach my clients is that, there really is I found that there are these 5 levels of belief that people go through in anything you want to accomplish, right? And I'll go through them super fast because and people sometimes start in the middle, or sometimes people start on the high end, but on the low end is fear, right? Fear, oh man, I don't think I can do this. I'm going to fail. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to waste all this time. That could be of anything, right? Doubt, you kind of move from fear to doubt. Doubt's more like, I just don't think I can do it. I'm not scared, but I just don't think it's possible, right? That's like the next level. The level after that is hope. And when you can get to hope and you can be like, yeah, I really think this is a doable thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to get there, but man, something in me just says I should go for it, right? Then you start taking some action and you can start seeing some results. And then when you get to faith is this place where you're like, I have a certain level of conviction. And even if I don't see the results yet, I'm going to keep taking action. I'm going to be visualizing it. I'm going to be believing it. And that gives you a tremendous power. Then you get to expectation. When you get to expectation, I mean, you can manifest things left and right. You can create the life you want. You can attract wealth. It just becomes incredibly much easier to do. Awesome. Looks like we got some cool comments coming in. So the next thing I want to talk about is the power of focus and imagination. And these are so important because what you focus on expands, right? What you focus on grows, and what you imagine also grows. So the more you imagine the outcome you desire, the easier it's going to manifest, right? It's kind of like when you were a kid and you'd imagine all these fun things you could do and be. And a lot of times people lose that ability to just daydream and kind of play in their mind of possibilities, right? And so when you can get into that state, some of the more recent researchers like Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you ever follow him, he talks about getting into an alpha state. And an alpha brainwave state, it's that state you're in when you're just having fun, you're imagining things, whether that's, this could be many different scenarios. Like if you can think about times when you're really relaxed, like maybe a great conversation that you're like with a friend, you're like, wow, this is so much fun talking to you, or if you're playing a board game, or if you're taking a walk in nature, or, it could be any number of things that you enjoy where you just kind of get into this relaxed, open-minded state. But you want to be able to be in that, and you want to be able to think about what it is that you desire. So I want everybody to write down something that you have focused on in your life long enough that it came true. Something that you focused, and this could be in anything. It doesn't have to be just wealth, but just I want you to write down something that you focused on long enough that it came true. Could be a marriage, could be having kids, could be a job that you created, could be a health goal. And once you write that down, I want you to also drop it in the comments so you can kind of claim that actually you do know how to do this. You know how to create, you know how to bring things into being, right? You're a creator, you're a powerful person. And again, this can be anything. But it is very valuable to claim what you actually have already accomplished. Just one thing. Being a go-to expert in my day job, my real estate license, getting business off the ground, nice. My house, right? Anybody else? My job, yeah. Travel to Europe. My own biz, yeah. Amen to that. Leaving my last job, yep. Marriage, yeah. Just floated into your lap, yeah. Things can, a lot of creations and experiences can be that way. Getting our house built and our Hawaii trip, yep. Yeah, everybody drop something in there. I'll keep talking. You all drop some more in there. So now I want each one of you to just write down one wealth goal that you will see come into fruition in this next year. And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's teeny tiny. I don't care if it's like so big, it's kind of unbelievable. I don't care if it's somewhere in between, but just one wealth goal. It could be to get a raise. It could be to get your first investment property. It could be to start investing in stocks. It could be to, run a side gig for a little while, but drop that in the chat as well once you've written that down, and let us know what that is, because now we're setting into motion our imagination. Now we're setting into motion where we're going, right? Nice. House, double my solo 301k, nice. Investment in real estate, max out both IRA contributions, buy an investment property, sweet. Yeah, keep dropping those in there. Yeah, good. Reducing debt, having grown up, yeah, money to invest, sweet. Investment properties, exactly. And it's so important for y'all to realize that just by doing this, right, just by writing it down and putting it in the comments, you're just like you're claiming it. It's been studied for many years that people who write down their goals have a much higher chance of achieving them than people who don't. I mean, it's so simple. It's kind of amazing. Craft business, cash flow business properties, getting my first investment property. Nice. Have 3 to 6 months of a prudent reserve. Yeah, this is good. This is good. So everyone doing that, it's like you're already amplifying what it is that you want to see happen. It's going to happen. And when you focus on this goal with your thoughts, with your emotions and your actions, I mean, you can't fail. It's going to happen. It's inevitable, right? It's simply part of the creative process that this all comes through. So I want to talk for a few more minutes before I wrap up here. And I want to talk about, of all things, this might sound really out of context and really kind of funny, but I want to talk about fruit trees and apple trees. Okay. So for there's two things. The first thing is, so I've researched this a few times. It's been a while since I researched it, and I was researching it earlier today, and I found it's kind of hard to find exact numbers because apple trees vary in size and types. But if we had a very conservative amount of how many apples an apple tree produces in a year, we could say 400 very conservatively. And if you said, okay, an apple tree produces 400 apples in a year, so in 25 years, it's going to produce 10,000 apples, right? So that's pretty cool. It's kind of amazing, right? It's like 10,000 apples. That's a lot. And it could produce a whole lot more than that. And if you think about, like, that's a lot of production for something that doesn't even have a brain, right? It's like, it is an apple tree is just a plant, and all it does is its seed is put in the ground. It's given soil, it's given water, it's given sunlight, it's given air, breathes in the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and it grows, and it just kind of does what it needs to do, right? It's not scared that it can't do this. It's not struggling. It's not worrying about how much money it's making or failing to make or anything like that. And if you think about an apple tree and how, okay, let's say it produces 10,000 apples in 25 years, and just think if all of those seeds from all those apples were planted, and how many more trees were then grown, and then rinse and repeat that process. I mean, we've got like an infinitude of wealth that's being produced from something that doesn't even have the same sentience as you or me. And my question for you all is, are you smarter than and more powerful than an apple tree? Right? Do you have more sentience and more consciousness and more, heart and soul, in you, and more creativity than an apple tree? If the answer is yes, then you can produce massive amounts of wealth, right? Like way more than you're producing right now. And that can be in a lot of different areas. We're going to focus on the real estate investing tonight, but I just want you to get in that recognition that, wow, if this tree can produce all this wealth and food and feed, thousands of people and reproduce itself over and over again, I must be able to do so much more than that with my creativity and with my focus and with my abilities, right? So the second part of this is that, this kind of goes back to a very old saying, kind of an old investment saying, which is, and I would love for anybody to drop this in the comments before I answer it, which is, when is the best time to plant a fruit tree? Does anybody know the answer? I'm sure some of you have heard this before. Anybody got it? I'm going to give you a second to put it in there. When's the best time to plant a fruit tree? Eddie says now. Robert says now. Anybody else have an answer? All right. The best time was 25 years ago. The second best time is today. Yeah. The best time was 25 years ago because it takes time, anywhere from 5 years to however long, for it to, or maybe it's 10 years or something like that once it really starts to produce. I forget. But, obviously you want it to be producing and producing for you for a long time. And so the sooner the better. So that's kind of the joke, is like 20 years ago is the best time. Second best time, yeah, you guys had it right now, right? Do it right now. So that kind of gets into something Jesse's going to be talking to you all a lot about here in just a moment, which is, this is a long game. This is a long game. This is a long-term investment that you're working with. And so you want to recognize, the sooner you can get started taking action, and even if that is taking the simplest steps, it's not like you have to get this all figured out tomorrow. It's not like you have to get it all figured out next week, but you do want to start taking some steps, doing some research, following up on some of the things that Jesse's going to give you, maybe even working with Jesse in some different areas. He might be able to help you with finding a property or making some of these other decisions, but you want to keep the flow going, right? You want to maybe give yourself a few goals for the rest of the year. Like, maybe this month I do this, and April I take the next step, and May and June and July you're taking steps and you're moving forward with it. So keep that in mind, that it is a long game. It is a long-term kind of thing, but it doesn't have to be that long. I mean, within a year or 2 or 3, you could have something going for you. It's entirely possible. So let me see what else I was going to say before we wrap up here. Yeah, just take the next step. Yeah. So the only other thing I wanted to say about that is that there's kind of this concept, right? There's this principle of relativity that says one thing leads to another. And if you've ever, I highly recommend, one of my favorite books of all time is a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And this book is really good because it teaches you step by step how to transform your habits from whether it's a bad habit you're trying to let go, a new habit you're trying to build, in your health, wealth, in your relationships, in everything. And so one of the principles he talks about is this idea of 1% changes every day, right? You don't have to change everything all at once, but if you can make 1% shifts and just lean into your desires, lean into your goals, lean into this real estate investing or other wealth producing aspects, then in a month, 2, 3, 6 months, a year, you're going to have so much more than what you had right now. So 1% shifts, taking the next step, one thing leads to another, and just expecting that these are going to add up, and that you'll actually have tipping points and quantum leaps along the way, where a couple really good examples that I'll leave you all with is that if for example, if you had an ice cube, right, or let's just say like a small block of ice, and you put it on a table in a room that was at a temperature of, say, 25 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Nothing's really going to change as far as like the ice melting or anything. It's going to stay the same. And you could raise the temperature in that room to 26 degrees, 27 degrees, and you keep raising it. It doesn't look like things are changing, but the temperature is changing in the room. But once you get to 32 degrees, 33 degrees Fahrenheit, that ice will start to sweat, right? And the process of it melting is going to begin. And if the temperature keeps rising, pretty quickly that ice is going to melt, right? And the same is true. I don't know all the exact details, but like bamboo plants are very similar, where they grow for months or years, getting their root base very solid. And then within a very short period of time, they can shoot up tens of feet, many feet. Like, I don't know how high it is. And then each year they kind of get bigger and bigger. But the concept there again is that there's all this growth underneath that's happening that you can't see. And then you see all this vertical growth happening. And this is same is true for everything in life, and especially wealth building, that as you're putting forth the energy, you might not see all the manifestations right away, but if you continue to invest and continue to do the research and take the steps and do the work, before you know it, you're like, wow, I'm making money off of this every single month. Every single month, this is bringing me cash in, right? And then you get better at it, you do it again, and you do it better, and then you do it again, right? And before you know it, you have a real estate empire or whatever other kind of wealth building empire that you want, whether that's creating a great business or finding other ways to draw money in. So I think that's what I've got for now. And I'm going to turn it over to Jesse, because he is the real estate master and really understands this stuff better than probably anybody I know personally, on like a friendship level, for sure. Seems to really know his stuff. So that's what I got, man. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Damien, very much. Woo, woo, woo. So you talked about growth and fixed mindset, and that Zoom was challenging my growth and fixed mindset today with all this technology stuff. Like, oh my God. And it, like, how do I stop the recording? Anyway, some good stuff. There'll be time at the end for questions, both Damien and myself. I want to share with you a few things and hear from you guys towards the end of what your questions are. We've got a lot of different people got some experienced investors on, to newbies, people who are just curious about what it's all about. I am going to do some screen sharing here. There's an article I want to share with you real quick. And this is top 7 reasons why 90% of millionaires invest in real estate and why you should follow their lead. 90% of millionaires become so through owning real estate. Reason number 1 is passive income. So if you're renting 100% interest rate, because 100% of your payment goes to either pay someone else's mortgage or increase their net worth. So when you are the owner of that property, the income comes in whether you're awake or asleep. Now there's some things set up, and there's obviously property management. However, can be pretty passive. Tax benefits, you can actually write off certain aspects, even though the property appreciates 4% on average per year. You can depreciate. There's depreciation where you can actually write off costs because things break down over time. It's pretty sweet. I'm not going to go into that a whole lot, but no self-employment tax. You can put your real estate to a corporation or an LLC that you are the head of, and you don't have to pay self-employment tax. You can pay yourself a wage as an employee of your own corporation. You can, if you're an S Corp, you can take owner dividends. You can deduct expenses. Reason number 3 is leverage, and this is financial leverage, where you can take out a loan, the bank gives you the money, or a hard money lender, and you don't have to have 100% of the price of the property in order to purchase it. Reason number 4, save time with the syndication. You can leverage other people's time by investing in real estate projects. So for example, a lot of hard money lenders, they do that because they own multiple properties, hundreds of properties, and they take loans against the equity they have, and then they lend it out to others, and they make additional interest rate those loans. Reason number 5, it appreciates. So percent average year. I do want to point out that with all the appreciation we've had in the last 3 years, we are now back on track as if we had never had a recession in terms of the 4% growth in the past 50 years that we've been tracking numbers. Reason number 6, cash flow. I talked about that. You've got each deal's got cash flow, and then you've got net worth increase. Every transaction, it's a tangible asset. It's real. I think it's why we call it real estate, because it's tangible. Okay. So real estate has made more millionaires in at least the United States than other parts of the world, and in other parts of the world. So I want to talk a little bit about asset classes. Okay, Zoom. Just bear with me if I have technical challenges. How do I stop screen share? Is that pause share? Okay. So there's different asset classes. You've got like 401ks, stock. There's real estate, which is residential and commercial. I'm going to talk mainly about residential today. There's asset classes such as owning a business. So owning a business is a cash play. You're going to make a lot of money, but it's not necessarily going to be an asset because it's not bringing you passive income. It's more active. Like, for example, real estate sales, I actively have to go to work every day, find new deals, buyers and sellers. Real estate investing, once you buy a property and it's yielding passive income for you, then that's an asset that makes you money whether you're awake or asleep. So there's a book I want to tell you about. I'm going to put it in the comments. Chris Crone is the author, and it's Have It All. I went to one of his Financial Genius seminars in August of 2021, and he was just about to publish that book, and a lot of what he spoke about was the different asset classes, because there's different ways to make money and invest money. Real estate is one of them, stocks other. There's all kinds of stocks, there's multiple types of real estate. Crypto is a new thing in our world. So Chris talks about in his book like double and triple assets. He's kind of cracked the Warren Buffett, it's the right word I'm looking for, act the Warren Buffett style. Because Warren Buffett, he buys companies as an investor, like real estate investors buy real estate properties, and those are cash plays. So that's one of the reasons why he's one of the wealthiest people in the world. So if you want to check out Chris's book, you can purchase it on Amazon. I'm in one of Chris Crone's masterminds, and with him, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I talk about different ways that you can make money. So I'm going to start sharing again here. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. At the end, we'll open it up for people to speak. All right, so back to presentation mode here. Thank you, Casey, for making these beautiful slides today. I was like, can you do this for me? It doesn't have to be anything fancy, and look, this is beautiful. Okay, so next we're going to go to, I want to talk about like the day-to-day and time. So human capital versus financial capital. I want to talk about that for a moment. Some of you on here may have the money where you're like, I have money to invest, but I don't really want to spend a lot of time doing real estate or finding properties or managing property managers or worrying about toilets that are leaking in the middle of the night kind of thing. There are ways that you can put money into real estate that don't involve your time. Now, if you have less money, it's going to require more of your time. But if you have money, you can invest in things like real estate investment trusts, REITs, R-E-I-T. These are kind of like stocks that you're buying a share and a portion of real estate as a big group. Chris Crone, who I mentioned, wrote the book Have It All. He has a partnership program that is twofold. You can put money into a fund with him where then he goes out and he buys with cash rental properties. His model is he will split profit with you. For example, when I buy property with him, it's a 50-50 split. Is my credit, but we put in an LLC where both of us are owners. Now, why would I do that? It's because he's only investing in the top 3 or 4 markets in the country. So he's got 200 people work for him that do all the research, find out what the top markets are. He's not investing in his backyard per se. He's looking for the top markets. So if you want to put money with someone who's doing that kind of research, so you don't have to talk to me and I can get you in touch with his team. You do have to interview for Chris Crone at least, and other groups like that have similar kind of vetting processes. They don't just take everyone. Now, financial capital. Here's, if you say you don't have as much money right now, or you want to have complete control, you don't want to split profits with someone else, and that's where it's going to involve more of your time, where you have to save money to make a 20% down payment, perhaps with a traditional bank or credit union. So lenders, when lenders give a loan to a homeowner, they give you a break where you can get like 3% conventional down payment or 5%. Some government programs like USDA, if you live out in the country, or Veteran Affairs, it's 100% financing, no down payment required. There are loan costs, but that's another thing. And then FHA, it's 3.5%. So if it's home ownership, you can have a smaller down payment. And one of the hacks that some investors do is they'll live in a property for at least 2 years, fix it up, and then they'll turn that into an investment property, and they'll buy their next owner-occupied property, put a smaller down payment, and there's certain capital gains rules. If you live there at least 5 years, but not more than, at least 2 years, but not more than 5, you get certain tax benefits. So if you have questions about that, we can talk about that later. But if you want to buy an investment property, you can buy a second home. It has to be at least 50 miles away from your current residence. Those only require 10% down. If you want to buy a full-on investment property, like here in the metro, that's going to require 20% down. Now, I'm going to go back to screen sharing here. Where to find money. And this is where I invited my friend Ken Fogelsong with KTEE Enterprises. KTEE, that's the initials of first names of members of his family. Where to find money? Obviously, you can save cash from your job or other investments. You can do a home equity line of credit. This is where, let's say you bought your house in 2018 or 2019 for the pandemic and the accelerated appreciation, and your house went up in value on average, say 30 to 35%. National average was about 44% appreciation within the last 3 years. I was a little bit behind that, closer to 30 to 35. Well, you can go to your bank or credit union and be like, hey, I want to take out equity line of credit against my property. And they'll give you a loan on a certain amount of that equity. Now, I'm not a lender. I'm not practicing lending. So talk to a bank or credit union of your choice to find out the terms and conditions. You have to have a certain amount of equity, and you can take that cash out and then use that cash to make the 20% down payments on a property, or with a hard money lender like Ken, who oftentimes will accept 10% down payment. Now, why would you do that? Because it's like, well, that's putting more debt. Yes, I do want to point out that when we had the Great Recession, when banks were looking at properties that were foreclosing, if you had a lot of equity in that property, like you'd been there a long time and you had a lot of equity, they went after you first because they could recuperate their loss better with someone that had equity than someone who had just bought the previous year that was struggling. So if you've got that kind of equity, you might consider doing something with it to invest it so that it's working for you. Obviously, you have to make a monthly payment when you take money against a home equity line of credit. But the premise is that you'd buy an asset like a rental property that is bringing more money in than what it's costing you. And now other people's money, this is, for example, have a friend, like he wants to get a hard money loan, 10% down. He's putting together his finances. Well, he has a family member who just paid off their house. He has approached, he was telling me about this the other day, he's approached his family member about, what if you get a home equity line of credit, lend me the money for my down payment, and then when I go to refinance the hard money lender off, I'll also repay you back plus interest, where they're going to make 10% or whatever agreed upon amount on that. So that's how hard money lenders do it. You can ask a friend or a family member to do that. Of course, I would want to know what I was doing before I asked someone to do that. You might want some experience on your belt before you do that kind of hack. But I do want to give a few minutes here to Ken to speak about hard money lending, what he offers. Some of you on here that experienced investors know what hard money lending is, but you might appreciate having this relationship. I'm going to stop sharing. Ken, if you just go ahead and unmute and take it away.
All right. Thanks for inviting me on tonight, Jesse, and putting this all together. A couple things on the, you were just talking about places to get money. 401k is an option. There's some life insurance policies, stuff like that. Joint venture, like you had mentioned earlier, with another investor. Just some other avenues there. But I think the main thing is knowing exactly what you want out of every investment that you do. If it's a set dollar amount that's your goal, if it's a percent profit, and then forming your offers and deals around that. But for the hard money lending, 90% of the loans that we do are going to be a fix and flip, so they're short term. Just covered until you're ready to either sell the property or refinance it into a long-term, into your rental. They're primarily asset-based. So if you have bad credit, it doesn't eliminate you from being able to get a hard money loan. It could impact your rates and terms on it, but it's not the determining factor on whether you can get that loan or not. If you were just to ask me what are the rates and terms on it, I really can't give you that until you get a property under contract and I get information from you, and then I can put the numbers together and I can present that to you. Just because there's factors in there that it's different for every deal. There's people out there claiming they can get you 95%, loan to value and stuff like that. I've seen them advertised, but I've never actually seen it happen. But it does get advertised. More likely, you're in the 80 to 90% on the top end of being covered on your loan. The hard money, you can close in as little as 2 weeks. A lot of times it'll be 20 to 30 days, but if you have all your documents put together and you're ready to go, you can get a close in 2 weeks so everything falls together. It's more flexible than just going to a bank. You can kind of structure it to each individual deal. And we're just here to help in whatever way we can. So.
Thank you for that, Ken. You brought up a good point. Can you guys hear me okay? Damien said I was breaking up sometimes. Ken brought up a good point, because one thing I wanted to talk about is you might have some money or resources that you don't know about. I talked about one already in terms of home equity. There are some life insurance policies, and you can speak to a financial planner about what's called whole life dividend paying CDVP. I can't remember what it means exactly, but it's a dividend cash value dividend paying. So CVDP, that's, I'll type that in the chat. Where you can purchase a life insurance policy course, you have to pay insurance on it, but you can also put extra money into it, like a bank account, and then you can get loans against it. Again, I'm not a financial planner. I'm just wanting to give you resources and ideas. If you need referrals, these type of people to talk to, I have those kind of contacts where they yield higher interest rates than just a bank account. And then they pay dividends. So a lot of times you can make money off of that. And that can be a way that if you have a lot of cash, you put it in that instead of a bank, and then you take loans against it, make your down payments with hard money lending or to purchase properties. Okay, so that's the hard money lending aspect of it. Again, so for example, with Ken, I just asked him last night, I was like, hey, friend of mine who's a contractor, we found this property, the seller's willing to do seller financing, which I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff, but seller financing is where the seller acts as a bank. In Iowa, that's known as contracts. Technically, they're called land contracts. You can buy property on contract. You bring 10, 20% down to cover all the fees associated with the purchase, commissions if real estate realtors are involved, that kind of thing. And then instead of paying a bank every month, you pay the seller, and then the seller turns around and they make payments to the bank. This can be helpful because a lot of times sellers can give you better terms like that. Of course, most sellers want their cash out. They got to take their money. They're buying another property. However, some people are in a position where they'd like that passive income. A lot of those do come with terms up front where you have to get your own financing and finance that seller off within most likely around 2 years. And if you don't do that, then you lose your down payment and the property goes back to the seller. Now, I did have a client that bought a property on contract, and then with all the appreciation, they cashed in on it and they made more money than the seller did. So just that's a little, if you are the seller in that situation, you got to be mindful of that. So anyway, now I want to talk first. I'm feeling the urge to open it up to some questions since we're talking about money, and then I'm going to mainly talk about the BRRRR strategy. It's my other primary point. But since money's a big deal, and since most people, money seems a challenge because the entry point to real estate is money, and it can require bigger investment than other asset classes. I want to open it up. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the comments. Don't be shy. Nothing to be ashamed of. Like, I'm saving my money up to make my first purchase.
Hey, could you? I'll throw out a question real quick.
Okay.
Could you describe a little more about? I forget exactly what you call it, but like, if I were wanting to leverage the equity in a home I've already got, my condo or some other property, how does that even? I just don't really know much about that.
Right. Okay. So I'm not a lender. I don't know how much equity you have in a property. If someone else has done this or knows offhand, basically you have to have a certain amount of equity, and the bank will lend you 80% of whatever that equity is. So let's say for easy math, your house, the market value is $200,000, and your mortgage is $100,000. So you have $100,000 of equity in that property. You can go to the bank, and depending on the bank and the terms, they may give you an $80,000 home equity line of credit. So then if you take out money on that line of credit, there'll be a monthly payment to a certain degree, and you'll have an interest rate to pay, because obviously that's how the bank makes money. Interest is basically rent that you're paying to use their money. And then you can take that $80,000. Sometimes people do this to improve their property, make repairs. Savvy investors will be like, well, I appreciate my house, but I want to buy other houses to increase my wealth, and then maybe circle back around and fix my house up or whatever. So then you can take, in the little example, you can take that $80,000 of the home equity line of credit, and you can put that as a down payment towards one property. Depending on the price, it could be multiple properties.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
We have Kimberly's got a question. What is an average hard money term for fix or flip? Ken, do you want to answer that one? Or I don't know if it'll be answered when I talk about the BRRRR strategy.
Yeah, without actually having the numbers of a deal with a property under contract, I mean, it's really hard to give the terms for it just because they can vary so much depending on how much rehab, what's the after repair value, things of that. So I've seen them, I've seen them anywhere from 8% to 14%, and out to 36 months. Most of them are 6 to 18 months, and some of them are less than that.
You talking about like when you and I met a couple weeks ago, you've said for easy math, like if a hard money lender was charging 12% interest rate and the investor only used, the time frame was within 6 months, I rehab the property and then refinanced it with a local bank or credit union, that on a 12%, that was only actually paying 1% per month.
Yeah, so it's simple interest instead of compound interest. So for easy math, we did the 12% for, let's say, a 1-year time period, if the term was a 1 year, and it would just break down to 1% of the loaned value is what your interest rate would be per month. And they're interest only payments. So you don't pay on the principal at all. It's just that interest payment until you exit out of that loan.
That's a good point. These payments to the hard money lenders are interest only, and they get their money back when you refinance the property out.
And so in essence, the faster you can get in, complete your project and refi out of that, the less less out of pocket there is for it.
I think probably, since we're kind of talking about this and this goes into the BRRRR strategy, I'm going to pull up the whiteboard. Yes, it is kind of like a small balloon loan, because if it doesn't get paid off in a certain period of time, then there's fees and that sort of thing. And they, and a hard money lender will want to be like a first lien against the property, just like a normal mortgage would. So if it fails for whatever reason, then they would have access to the title and ownership. Okay, so whiteboards. I practiced this last night, guys. Okay. Share whiteboard. Oh, it's giving me all these questions. Can you guys see it now? Yes? Okay. All right. So the BRRRR method. There's a book by the title. I don't know the author's name off the top of my head, but it's easily found if you do a Google search. BRRRR stands for buy, renovate or rehab, rent, refinance, ANCE, and scale. So I'm in a mentorship program learning about investing with Sam Prim and Faster Freedom out of St. Louis, and I have access to webinars every week and one-on-one mentoring, that kind of thing. And a lot of what gets talked about, and a method that is very commonly used, and it's very viable here in the Midwest where our property values are less. It's hard to do this on the coast and places like California where properties are just so expensive relative to the amount of rent you're going to get. So what we're talking about with buy, you make your money when you buy. Gary Keller talks about this in his Millionaire Real Estate Investing book. You want to buy as low as possible, because let's say for easy math, the bank will give you 100, after repair value is 100% the value. Bank will loan you, some of them up to 80%. So let's say, for easy math, we'll go with $200,000. So that means after you've done your renovations, gotta do my math here, I'll just make the calculator. Can you guys see that? So 80% of $200,000 is $160,000. So the bank will give you an 80% loan because the collateral is built into the value of the property already. So as an investor, you want to, and some banks may only do 75%. So when you're purchasing a property, you want to be all in with your renovation and buy price purchase. You want to be on at 70%. So let's say the renovation costs, we'll just for easy math do $50,000. So doing math here again, I was a music major. My music teacher's on here. Music major's gonna count to 12. So calculator. So you want to be $100,000. You want to be max all in $140,000, and if the renovation is going to cost you 50, you want to spend $90,000 max on that property. So a lot of these are market. With the change in the shift in the market, more opportunities are coming. When I first got into real estate, Tom and Linda Milam, who was on here earlier, she may still be, say hi in the chat, working with Tom and Brian Lynch, doing wholesaling, finding properties on the MLS at lower rates. My very, very, very first transaction of my entire career was a purchase that they did on Southeast 7th Street over here in Des Moines. So as the market is shifting, it's more favorable for buyers. The whole thing is going to be more of a thing, and getting properties at discount. To get them at this kind of discount, to get a $200,000 house at a $90,000 price, you're most likely going to have to find a distressed property with a distressed seller, meaning they're in a situation where they want out. They're not concerned about their proceeds as much as they need to move the property off their books, or they've inherited it and they already have a mortgage payment and they're in distress. So the Spurs method, so going back over here, if the renovation is $50,000 for easy math, and you want to buy that property for $90,000. So the hard money lender comes in and they will give you that loan amount at 70% in most cases. And feel free to chime in if you have something to add. Hard money loan for the 70%, which potentially, if the hard money lender gives you 70% and you meet your numbers with your renovation and your price, and the bank gives you a loan for 80%, you could walk away with a 10% profit. And that's what Kim was talking about with a fix and flip, because then if you do your renovation smartly and you buy it as little as you can, you could potentially walk away. That bank or small credit union or small bank gives you that takeout loan, that refinance. That's the last R there. You could not only have an asset that's making money, but you're going to walk away with 10% profit. Now, I did want to say, before you refinance, you're going to have to. So if you take a property to the bank that you've renovated and you put a renter in it and it's cash flowing, the bank's going to be like, heck yeah, here's 80%. It's a cash flow asset. You've got your docs together. They give you that loan. You pay off your hard money lender. If you borrowed your down payment from a friend, they did HELOC on the house or whatever, you pay them off too. Or if you put skin in the game of 10%, you'll get your 10% plus your 10% profit. Or if the bank only does 5%, then it's 5%. So and then investors will take that 5% profit, they'll just go back to the hard money lender and be like, hey, here's my profit on this, let's do another one. And if you build a relationship with the hard money lender over time, then it's easier to do business with them. And that's where you hear about those 95% cuts, or some people do 100%. But you have that kind of relationship in place with that hard money lender to have that kind of risk. Okay. Hi, Linda. I see that you're on here. So any questions about, that was a little complex, but that's the burst method of the hack. That's what I'm getting into and doing and finding. And if you have questions about how to property, I'm willing. We've got 20 minutes left. We can open up to questions now, comment, etc. Feel free to unmute.
This is super. I just want to say this is really cool, man. I feel like I'm learning a lot. I don't know who else is. Somebody else trying to jump on?
Yeah. So Linda just wrote in here. The more you do business with anyone, usually you get better rates and terms as you have more experience. Definitely. That's a lot of times what in my so far, like, to use one lender, it's obviously buyer's choice, and one inspector, one for, because I like to build this kind of loyalty. I ask them for favors, they can ask for favors. Define the word contract. Okay, so a contract would be like a written agreement between two parties. In the state of Iowa, the statute of frauds, all contracts agreements have to be in writing so that it can be enforced. So talking about land contracts specifically, that's where a friend of mine, client, I'll just talk about, they vetting a property for potential of mine. They talked to that owner said, I'll sell it to you on contract, basically rent to own. They were able to buy the property, able to note down. That seller gave them an amazing deal, and then they just paid their monthly payments to the bank. It went to that seller. That's called a land contract. That's what I'm contract, buying on contract, to know, hear about it. So, and then when that contract deed holder sold the property, they cashed in on the appreciation, and then the seller just paid off their mortgage. So that was the answer to that question, Robert. And again, if you guys have questions and we want more detail after the event, we definitely do that. So Kimberly S. So thinking about all paperwork we had, Jesse, how does paperwork compare in these scenarios? Okay, very good question. So are you talking about, well, whenever there's a purchase, there's going to be a purchase agreement involved. Just like when you bought your house with me, a purchase agreement, it's all have additional addendums and amendments. If it's a contract, it's going to have terms in terms of how long until it balloons and you have to pay off that seller in the terms of a land contract. With Ken, as a hard money lender, there's going to be documents. You signed a mortgage when you bought your house. You're going to have paperwork like that to sign with the hard money lender. Basically, you don't pay, you don't stay. Can the hard money lenders expect monthly payments, or do they just want to be paid out when you refinance?
They want monthly. Okay. The interest only for the monthly, and then when you exit out, then cash them out.
Okay. So on this renovation portion here, I'm still renovation. This is just a physical renovation. This is really all costs in the deal. This is to pay the hard money lender monthly. This is and taxes and that kind of, so that your costs are in whatever the number is, the deal work. So yes, there's paperwork, and I can send you examples and copies of blank contracts so you can familiarize yourself with them and read them. Sometimes I think about, how money made, like when I'm even at the close with a buyer and they're bringing whatever down, and that, money it's used to deal, and then, real estate professionals are paid, and closing attorneys and people. And it's like, does the bank really have that much cash, especially since some banks fail here recently.
Hey,
And by
Jesse,
the way, yes,
I don't know if it's just on my end or not. I just it's kind of hard to hear that last thing you were saying. What were you describing just now?
I was describing like money, how money, is there really that much cash out there? Money really is just invented and created on paper to a certain degree. And bank, like, I mean, I thought, gosh, I could be a bank owner someday. And like, and maybe hard money lending is in my future as well. It's, you know, it's a promise, but you don't necessarily have to have all that cash on hand. And the interesting thing is sometimes you're better to leverage and use a bank's money for depreciation and tax write-off purposes than to put 100% down for cash. Okay, we have another question or comment from Linda. On the fix and flips, does Ken still take monthly interest only or at sale like the 3 months in general? Ken, do you want to answer that?
Yeah,
Oh,
it would
he
still,
did. They
still
would
be
be.
the monthly interest only 8 payments.
So part of one of the reasons I'm excited about this and I'm starting to do this and to tie it back to some things that Damien said earlier, like, I'll just be honest. So when I got into my Faster Freedom mentorship program, Sam Prim, you can find him, I'll type his name. He's a great guy. Sam Prim. He talks about the Burr method a lot on his TikToks, Instagram, you know, and that you can no money down, use someone else's money. Well, yes, that is true when you have those relationships. So when I bought into the program at the beginning of the year, I was like, woo, woo, I can use someone else's money. Well, yes, to a degree. When the relationship built. So I had a moment I was marching around here, throwing a fit at myself, like, what? This isn't happening as fast as I want, blah, blah, blah. And I calmed myself down. And I realized, you know, there's more to a situation than, I mean, it's why I like to sit down and do strategy sessions with people. It's like I can say, yeah, 5%, 3% down, or even on a VA loan, for example, there's the VA funding fee, and sometimes that can be $10, and the veteran thinks, oh, but it's 100%. So I just reminded myself, you know, this is going to happen. Breathe, Jesse. Nothing happens overnight. When I got into real estate, I worked 2 part-time jobs, cleaned houses, and would do my lead generation. And it took a year before I could go full-time. Even then, there were some months I didn't make any money. And, you know, I just take a breath. You can do this. Sometimes the next step is to find out more information, talk to the next person. You don't have to know it all up front. It's a growing process. You know, when we're born, we don't start walking right away. We learn to crawl first, and then we walk, and we get better at it over time. Okay. This might be more of a Ken question. This is from Kennedy. What are the credit scores you see on people doing the hard loans? Can you talk about how it is done corporation versus individual? He says, I've seen 5 credit score get approved. There are more options to loan to a company LLC than to an individual. Both are doable, just options for an LLC. So one thing I want, I'll tell a little story from my life. I can't remember all the details, but this is when I was still in my real estate license. I had debt. I needed $1,000, and a friend of mine said, "I'll loan you $1,000. Just pay me $100 a month, and then make an extra payment of $100, and that's like my interest." So, and part of the reason why she did that, because her dad was a farmer in Missouri, and she was like, she saw her dad when she was a kid, they would loan money to one another without having to go to banks, and it didn't have all the government regulation. It was just kind of like a gentleman's handshake. So I paid her the $1,000, and I paid her the $100 extra. So hard money loans is that kind of loan that yet on a bigger scale, where it's like private individuals are making loans. It's not as government regulated, but there are contracts between the parties. So there's still legal obligations and liabilities, because if you don't perform, then the hard money lender can pursue legal action or have that lien on the property and take ownership. I remember that you've come so far, Jesse. Yes, thanks, Linda. I have to remind myself that sometimes too. And just wherever you are in this game, like tonight, if you're here and this is just like all new, brand new information, like, whoa, I'm gonna have to watch the recording, or definitely want that whiteboard, you know, just give yourself some great things will happen over time. I mean, I've been selling real estate for almost 9 years now, and I'm like, I don't want to be chasing deals when I'm 60. I want to be owning property that makes me money while I'm awake or asleep. And I'm building my real estate team out. It's like one of my goals is to hire a field agent this year where I'm not the one showing all the property all the time. I'm more building the relationships, looking for the real estate deals as an investor or buyers and sellers in my real estate sales business. We have Robert asking a question. What are the factors you consider before someone is approved for hard money lending? That's another Ken question. I'm so glad I brought you here today, Ken.
Yeah, I was trying to type it to not interrupt you, but I'm not that fast at typing. But
go ahead.
Main things we're going to look at are the purchase price, the rehab cost, and the ARV. And that's going to tell us if it's going to be a profitable loan or not. And then from there, we'll expand on that. But those are the three main items.
So like I have here on the screen, Robert, ARV stands for after repair value. I'll type that out because I like acronyms. After repair value, 100%. So that's your 100%, which is 200,000 in this situation. So the hard money lender, that small bank or credit union, you know, when you go to refinance, they're going to do an appraisal. So if you're looking at a property you want to buy, you can come to me and I can give you market analysis to help determine the after repair value, or you can pay an appraiser. And then you got to know your renovation, like all your costs, not just the physical repairs, but what are all the fees? How much money do you have to hold? We always recommend whatever your budget is, add in 10% just to pad yourself there, because things cost more or the repair took longer and you had to spend more on labor. Where or who determines the after repair value? Okay, I kind of maybe just answered this, but like when you go to that refinance step with a small bank or credit union, they will do some form of appraisal. And depending upon the bank and your relationship with them, it could be a drive-by, or it could be they need to get in the property and see. And like Ken said, realtor, I can help you figure the ARV. Every time I list property, I do comparable market analyses for sellers, so they know what to list the property for and what the market's doing. That's basically the same thing. Many of you are homeowners on here, bought your houses with me. When you pay for that appraisal, that's what the appraiser did. They were determining the value of the property. So that's what the bank and the hard money lender looks at as the ARV, after repair value. Good questions, you guys. Keep them coming. If you want to unmute yourself, feel free. Remember, I was mad at our appraiser. Yes. When I bought my house, I bought my personal residence off market. My lender friend, Barb Wasmansky, her friend, Mike Farrell, who does a lot of insurance, may have done insurance for some of you guys. His mom had passed away in 2005, I think, and then the crash happened and they weren't able to sell the property, so he rented it, and then it was vacant for a while. Well, Barb knew that I was wanting to refinance, but ultimately buy a single family home. I was living in a condo, and as a singer, welcome home, it's a little tag. I can't sing 10 o'clock at night whenever I want to. So I wanted a single family home. Well, when Mike called Barb and was like, I've got this investor wants to buy, on contract from me. She was like, don't sign that contract. I might have a buyer for you. She called me up. We looked at the property. I was like, yes, I like this house. It has a double lot. Like maybe someday I'll parcel that off and build a house and sell it. So that kind of came to me through just the universality, God and the fairies of the universe know what I want, and me being receptive to it. So a lot of times you just deals with, the more it's like good luck comes to those who work hard. Is you sometimes hear that. It's like, it really works because you have momentum going where it's always hardest in the beginning, but once you get momentum going, stuff will come to you from, you may not even know where. One of my clients I called this week to invite her to the event. I remember thinking, she called me one day from some internet thing, and I still to this day don't know how she got my name, but she bought her house with me. Okay, after repair value, thank you, Casey, for adding that. If you're flipping the house, the quality of work and products used can change the ARV. Yes, because appraisers do take into account the quality of the work done. It's just like any other property. What's the quality of the finishes? Are they higher end? Are they cheap? My philosophy is if I'm going to turn something into a rental, I want it to be done of a quality that someone's proud to rent that property, and I'm going to attract a better renter who will be more on time with the payments. So, oh, we need to talk about parceling out. Reminder for later. Yes. When I bought my property, I'm going to have to refinance it because right now both parcels are on my loan. So if I want to parcel it out, I'm going to have to refinance and separate the parcels. So someone recently I talked to, he's looking at buying land from his neighbor, parceling it off because West Des Moines is growing out towards him. So there's opportunities like that. There's all kinds of ways to invest in real estate. It's not just single family homes. That's my expertise. So that's what I'm focusing on purposefully. I've helped clients buy properties off auction.com, hubzoo.com. We just closed on a Hubzoo. I'm helping him evict people that are living these properties because I want to learn about the process. Just called the sheriff today and I was like, I paid for this eviction a week ago. Why is this person not evicted? Oh, the deputy of that area is on vacation. I'm like, okay, great. A lot of deals and relationships come from real estate meetups. Yes, Linda, that's a good point. So what I'm learning in my mentorship program, it's a relationship-based business. So it's going to meetups, it's meeting other investors, it's knowing wholesalers, people who are basically investor real estate agents that don't have to be licensed, where they wholesale the property to you. They buy it at this price and then sell it to you at this price, and they make a little profit in there. You can negotiate with them. You got to know realtors. I tell investors, like, I'm not offended if you need to know more than one realtor because we have off-market deals. I only know so many per year. One year I had like 3 in the same month. Other years I don't know of anybody that's distressed. So you got to know multiple realtors. You got to know what your buy box is. You got to know, like, okay, I want 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes in the suburbs of Des Moines. Des Moines is a small enough market where most investors' buy boxes are the whole market. Some people might be like, I want to buy on the south side, or I know when I was doing a wholesaling with Tom and Linda, we were focusing on the south side. So you got to, know your buy box. And if you know what your buy box is and your target property, you're going to have credibility when you go to speak to someone in lender.
Is a buy box just sort of like the parameters that you want in the property? What does that mean?
Yes. So like when you're talking to a or you got to tell them what you want. It's kind of like you're looking for your personal home. You're like, I want a 4-bedroom home in Western Milwaukee School District. So your box as an investor is, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with an after repair value of between $200,000 and $300,000 that needs no more than $50,000 in renovations. So it's like your parameter, or it's, in bigger cities, you might be like, I want to buy in this 1 or 2 zip codes. Des Moines is still small enough where most investors are open to most of the market.
That would be something I would be interested in, and I think other people might be interested too, is just a little more, and this might be like a whole other thing that you might want to do, Jesse, but like even sort of that process of determining, I mean, I know you've been laying out a lot of stuff tonight, but like just a little more granular, how do we even figure some of these things out as far as what we would want? And I think Ken said some stuff about, I think it was Ken was saying some stuff about, or maybe you said it too, Jesse, but like knowing kind of what you want in terms of the returns that you're going to get. Like if you're going to rent the place, like if you're going to buy a place and rent it, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, this has been really good. I'm trying to, I don't know if that's really clear, but
Well,
it kind of goes along with the buy box kind of thing you're saying.
I'd be happy to do a consultation with any of you that want to strategize what your potential next steps are. One of my clients, I think Andrew's still on here. He also was a Chris Crone junkie, following Chris Crone, and we met at a property that I actually have listed again right now. And so I started working with him. He bought a property where he and his person, they live in the big part and they rent out the basement. And we were literally at the final walkthrough, and I mentioned Chris Crone. He's like, no way, I got in this whole space because of Chris Crone, and listen to his stuff. So I'm happy to do one-on-one consultations with anyone here. Even if you're not in the Des Moines market, I would be happy to do a consult with you, and then I would refer you to an agent in your market, find one that's investor friendly or investor knowledgeable, or they have the expertise to help in this regard. It is getting close to 8 at 7:59. I want to honor everyone's time and the time frame that we advertise. Again, I appreciate all of you being on here. Yes, Google Meetups. Yeah, if you just go look for the app Meetup, it's an app, and then you just Google investor meetups. What is the name of the local real estate investor association, Linda? RE. Yes, thank you. Des Moines Real Estate Investing Meetup on Facebook. I joined a couple of, just by being on some Facebook groups and talking about what my buy box is, I've had wholesalers come to me with properties. And that's where I'm like, okay, I need to talk to Ken. Need to figure out my money situation and that kind of thing. If anyone wants mindset coaching, you can find me under Damian Norman on Facebook and send me a direct message. Yep, just search my friends list. You'll find Damian there, or business coaching. All right, so we're going to officially end. This is recorded. I think all of you automatically get the recording. If not, let me know and I'll make sure we get it. Casey, thank you for staying late. Thank you, Ken, for your expertise. Thank you, Damian, for leading us through that mindset piece at the beginning. That really is, that's the starting point for any endeavor in life. And again, I appreciate all of you guys for coming on. Yep, there it is, IAREIA.org. You're welcome, Josh. Thank you for the invite. Mary, yep. Yolanda, thank you, thank you. Yep, my pleasure. I like Chick-fil-A, my pleasure. You're welcome, Daniel. All right. How many? Most people logged off, got 22. Okay, I guess if someone wants to hang around for some questions or whatever, I'm happy to do that. We're still rolling the recording. I'm going to turn off my screen share. Did I turn off screen share?
So,
Yeah.
hey, Jesse, I got a question about the
Yes.
parceling out, and this is
Okay.
for you and Ken. If somebody is splitting a